Welcome back to Posh Plastic. Kylie here while I'm editing this episode. Amber will be on in just a moment, don't worry, for those Amber lovers out here. So today is going to be a little bit different, and let me explain why. So firstly, this is going to be our finale for season 1. We'll be back next week, don't worry, but we are starting with a new format next week that we feel is going to be better for you guys, that you'll enjoy more. It's easier to listen to. We'll explain that more in next week's episode. So we are going to finish this short season with a special finale. We are going to give you guys our Britney Spears episode that we recorded. It was part of our giveaway at the launch of our podcast. So now it is available for everyone to listen to, and I hope you enjoy.
Britney Jean Spears was born on December 2nd, 1981 in Macomb, Louisiana, and she grew up in Kentwood, Louisiana. And by the age of 2, she was singing and dancing her little heart out. And when Britney was a child, her parents would have company over, and they would wonder who was singing on the radio just to learn it was Little Miss Britney on/in her bathtub stage giving a concert to her stuffed animals. And please do not ask me where I got that information, because that has been stored in my brain since I was like 9 years old. It was probably one of her concert specials on TV or something. I don't remember the source, but I know she has told that story before. So her parents, Jamie and Lynn, know they have this little girl with superb talent and big dreams, and they don't want to waste any time getting her out in the world to share her talent. So she begins taking dance classes and practicing her singing and developing that talent into skills. And then she starts entering and slaying away in talent shows. The most notable talent show she competed in was a show called Star Search. She appeared in 2 episodes. So in her first show, she sang a song called I Don't Care, where she impressed the audience and judges with her deep and strong voice. Britney won herself the title of champion that week and went on to the next round the following week. And she followed up in her next competition with a song called Love Can Build a Bridge. Unfortunately, she lost her second round to her challenger, Marty Thomas, who I have to say did an excellent job. They both did great, though. And before the winner was announced, the host asked Britney if she had a boyfriend or if she liked boys, and she said no, because they're mean. And that aged well a few minutes later, because she didn't win, but in the end, Britney won because she's gone on to be a legendary icon. At the age of 8 years old, Britney auditioned for Disney's The All-New Mickey Mouse Club, best known as MMC. Unfortunately, Britney didn't quite make the cut. However, the producers made it clear that it wasn't due to her lack of talent. She was just too young to be on, as the show was casting for ages 11 and up. They encouraged Britney to get a talent agent in New York City and to audition again once she was old enough. So Britney did just that. She went on to New York City and spent her summers there attending a performing arts school. And during this time, she was doing commercials like Mall's barbecue sauce. And I'm sorry, y'all, I tried to hunt down more commercials, but I was lucky enough to find that one. So that's all I could find. In 1991, Britney landed a role in an off-Broadway play called Ruthless. And this play sounds unhinged. As I read the storyline, I did not fully understand who was dead and who was alive and who was resurrected. So, real quick, it's an all-women cast, and a little girl is cast as an understudy and is bitter about it. So she kills the little girl casted in her dream role as Pippi Longstocking. And when she gets caught, she's sent away to an asylum. And her mother, who is secretly the daughter of a Broadway star, becomes famous herself. Then her psychotic daughter, I know this is confusing, but she returns back after serving her time, and chaos ensues. So with all the chaos, that's where I lose the ability to keep up with who's alive and who's getting killed and whatnot. But anyway, Britney was casted as an understudy for Tina, which is the psychotic child. So luckily enough, real life did not imitate art in this sense. But fascinatingly enough, she was the second understudy. And the first understudy for Tina was none other than Natalie Portman. So, for those of you who say that Britney cannot act, think again, because she was on Natalie Portman's level, at least in the 90s. After this time, it's time to audition for her dream again, the Mickey Mouse Club. She tries for the gig, and this time she lands it, alongside some other soon-to-be famous pop stars, Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera. And the show also starred Ryan Gosling, Kerry Russell, and the superior NSYNC member JC Chasez. I loved him so much. He was way better than Justin. The Mickey Mouse Club was a variety show filled with skits and musical performances. Britney excelled in acting, singing, and dancing on the show. Britney was also excellent as the comedy aspect of the skits. And now that I'm thinking about this, it's kind of interesting. Her sister, who shall not be named, started her career on all that because it's similar. It's a sketch type of show, just like this. So she was kind of following in her footsteps. While I was doing this research, I kind of put that together. Anyway, back to Brit. There's also a video well known all over the internet where she's performing a song called I Feel For You with a young Justin Timberlake, and she is carrying the performance. It's embarrassing for him. They also did a song called I'll Take You There together, and that one was less cringy. She wasn't carrying him as much. But it was wild to watch the big talent. There's just so much talent in her, and she was so little at the time. For me, I noticed her voice is very mature, and her skills were just mastered. Like, she's hitting every note. Her voice is incredible, and then she's also hitting every dance move and just knocking everyone out of the water. It really irks me when people say she can't sing based off of like her edited stuff, like all the recently released stuff in the past 10 to 15 years that was released beyond her control. Because if you go back far enough, before all that technology existed with the auto-tune and stuff, like her voice is incredible.
Yeah.
In 1995, the all-new Mickey Mouse Club was canceled, leaving Britney with nothing better to do than to go home. But she didn't want to just go back to a normal life in Kentwood, although Britney did lead a normal life where she had a boyfriend, went to dances, and played as the point guard on the basketball team. Britney was also determined to continue her dream of being in show business. And that's when Britney was recruited to start her music career. But hold the phone. We aren't talking about Baby One More Time just yet. So Lou Pearlman, who you may know as the man behind NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, was putting together a girl group called Innocence. And this is going to be like a US version of the Spice Girls. And with Lou's success with the boy bands, it was bound to take off. Except it didn't. Britney ended up leaving the group before they really started anything substantial. The group did go on to open for NSYNC because they were managed by Justin's mom. So they did that a couple of times, but it didn't really go anywhere. So it sounds like Britney knew what was better for her, and she didn't want to be tied down to a group from the get-go. And we see many people leave groups to pursue solo careers, and then they get like backlash or their careers plummet. Like when I think of that, I think of like Camila Cabello got a lot of backlash for leaving Fifth Harmony.
So true.
Good on Brit for knowing her worth at a young age and not getting stuck in that. At the age of 15, Britney starts working on a demo album to land a record deal for her solo career, and she managed to land a development deal with Jive Records. For those of you who don't know what a development deal is, it's when a record label commits to the record deal, but they also commit to the development of the artist. So I'm not going to go into further detail on this because there's a rabbit hole in the pros and cons of that, but this worked out for Britney, as we can see. Britney started doing mall tours where she would perform her songs for audiences in the mall. And those were the days when they'd have like the celebrity appearances in the malls.
Yes.
I remember the girl who played Ruthie from Seventh Heaven came to my mall when I was a kid. And they did like games with her and stuff. And then I remember when I was older, they had like a few Nickelodeon and Disney stars that came to the mall, but I was like 18 or 19, so I didn't go. I didn't really care.
Yeah.
But the mall was a vibe in the 90s.
So true.
Did you ever have any of those?
We did, but I can't remember who specifically came. But I just remember that being a thing every so often. There would be some kind of event that was happening in the middle of the mall, and everyone wanted to be there.
Yeah. I miss those days.
Same.
So in 1998, Britney released her debut single, Baby One More Time. And at first she was faced with some backlash for the music video, as people felt it was too provocative for a teenager to be dressed as a schoolgirl in the way she was. But honestly, this just helped her song reach a wider audience and get more attention. All press is good press. And when she released her debut album by the same name in January of 1999, which, by the way, that marks 25 years, like, now. So, throwback. It skyrocketed to number 1 on the charts. And it sold 1.3 million copies in its first week of release, setting a record for sales in the first week by an artist. She was really Miss American Dream since she was 17. It eventually sold over 10 million copies in the United States. That means she went 10 times platinum off of her debut album.
Damn.
Wild.
It's crazy.
Not only was Britney on the charts, but she was also remaining her presence on the Disney Channel. In the 90s, the Disney Channel would play more mainstream music before they went into making their own music and forcing their actors to also be musicians. So while Baby One More Time was not played, they had the music videos for the songs Crazy and Sometimes that would play on the channel, which exposed Britney to even more of an audience as she was inspiring the younger fans like us. Disney Channel began presenting concerts with the biggest names in music. I want to say the first one they ever had was LeAnn Rimes, but I could be wrong on that. That was the first one I remember. But Britney ended up headlining one of these concerts with Joey McIntyre of New Kids on the Block being her opening act. And not only did this show Britney's performing her hit singles, but it introduced us to some of the amazing deep cuts on her album, like I Will Be There, Born to Make You Happy, and From the Bottom of My Broken Heart. All great songs.
Bops.
What's your favorite song on that album? I have to know.
That's a good question. Probably Crazy. You Drive Me Crazy.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think Born to Make You Happy is my favorite.
That's a good, I mean, they're all so good, but I love the way that, like, You Drive Me Crazy, the way that the, like, music and the dancing for that one goes. Like, I always danced along, so.
That's, like, a dance song that's definitely the best.
Yeah. But of, like, the slower ones, probably Sometimes, because every now and then I still kind of sing that, like, it pops into my head, so Sometimes.
Yeah, Sometimes it's such a good song, too. Yeah. And I love that music video.
You're right. Isn't it the Santa Monica Pier?
Oh, is it?
I think so.
I don't know.
I know it's at a pier, right, where she's dancing in all white.
On a pier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fans also get to, you know, in addition to all of that, fans also get insight into a Britney Spears show that goes beyond Britney. It's her dancers. So Britney's dancers were always seen as an important part of the magic that goes into a Britney Spears show, and she seemed to have a great relationship with all of them too. It looked like they were really close. We also got a behind the scenes look of what goes into making the concerts come together. And this concert, when I went back to watch it, I realized this concert was recorded at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and this was also Britney's old stomping grounds. But when I'm looking at it now, as an adult, which, side note, we both have worked at Disney World. That's where we met. Mm-hmm. So I worked at this park specifically. I see that she is performing right outside of the Rock and Roller Coaster ride.
Ah.
And literally where this stage is, when I worked there at least, there was a food and beverage cart that was in the same spot. And I worked there. So literally in the same latitude and longitude of where Britney Spears performed, and I didn't even know.
Ah.
This is probably for the best, because I would have acted out if I knew that. But, like, we breathe the same air.
That is really cool.
Anywho, I apologize. I tried to stretch the 90s out as much as possible, but that's all I've got for you guys. On the other hand, there's so much to cover in the 2000s, so we'll probably need to make more time for that anyway. So, Amber, over to you.
Okay. So, like Kylie said, I'll preface this with saying that my part is a little bit long. So, sorry in advance, but also sorry, not sorry. You're here for a reason. You want to hear about Britney. I have like 6.5 pages of notes, and this is a trimmed down version. So, you know. As always, so my sources are Wikipedia, LA Times, Celebrity9, Jacksonville.com, and of course, Britney's memoir, The Woman in Me. So let's get into it. So I'm going to go decade by decade. I'm going to go year by year because she accomplished so much between 2000 and 2010 that like the only way to kind of organize it is to go year by year. So starting in 2000, Britney's second studio album, Oops, I Did It Again, was released on May 16, 2000. It became the fast-selling album by a female artist in the U.S., and the album sold 1,319,193 units in the opening week. So just like her first, 1.3 million albums were sold in the first week. So she's crushing the game at this point. At the 2000 Grammy Awards, Britney was nominated for Best Female Pop Vocal Artist, Best New Artist, and Album of the Year. And despite being nominated, Britney didn't end up winning any Grammys this year. But she did win Best Female Artist at the Billboard Music Awards in the same year. And this also in the year 2000 is the year that she publicly announces that her and Justin Timberlake are officially dating. Now we're in 2001. Her third album, self-titled Britney, was released on October 31st, 2001. And this album featured songs such as I'm a Slave for You and Overprotected. So good, right? Also in 2001 was her infamous performance at the MTV VMA Awards Video Music Awards, where she performs I'm a Slave for You with the big yellow python in the green outfit. Very iconic. Yeah, so she signs her 2-year contract with Pepsi in February of 2001. MTV produced the Super Bowl this year. It was Super Bowl 35, and because MTV produced it, they brought in a slew of musical talent for the halftime show. Some of the featured artists amongst Britney included Tom Hamilton, Mary J. Blige, Justin Timberlake, Steve Tyler, and Nelly. So definitely a star-studded cast for the halftime show. And at this time, so Britney's still dating Justin Timberlake, and they give us the iconic matching denim outfits when they attend the American Music Awards this year. So, I know. But I will say, from listening to her book, she mentions, I think she mentions like she styled that outfit herself and her and Justin, and like she was really proud of like the whole thing. So like,
yeah,
that's cool.
I think it's when you're in a relationship and your boyfriend wants to coordinate, it's like special. I think that's probably why it meant a lot to her.
100%. And she's what, like 18,
and
19?
Denim was trendy.
So trendy. And she's 18, 19. Who doesn't want it? Your boyfriend wants to match with you. You're like, I'll wear whatever you want. Low key.
Yes.
Okay. So, 2002, Britney stars in her one and only feature film, Crossroads. It was a coming-of-age friendship movie that also starred Taryn Manning, Saldana, and Anson Mount. Were you able to watch this movie like when it came out? Did you like see this movie?
I don't think I saw it when it first came out, but what year was that? It was definitely in the 2010s. I've seen it as an adult.
Have you? See, I still haven't gotten the chance to watch it, and I begged my mom to watch it. And the only reason she wouldn't let me see it is because they decided to rate it PG-13 instead of PG, and she just would not let me see it.
That probably was the same reason for me. I don't remember. I just remember not seeing it, but like one day me and my friend were talking about it, and we're like, let's buy it on Amazon or rent it on Amazon and watch it. So we did, and we watched it on our family computer. But
Cute.
honestly, I know there's a scene with her dancing in her room in her underwear.
Maybe.
Or she's in her underwear and a t-shirt. Maybe that's why, but
Maybe.
it's not really that bad.
No. And what is this? This is 2002.
I feel like it's, I mean, I've only seen it once, but I would say Coyote Ugly was a little more racy than this movie.
I can see that. And those came out about the same time. Coyote Ugly came out in 2000, so this came out 2 years later. Around this time, Justin and Britney do break up, and Britney is extremely heartbroken around this time. Justin releases his album Justified, and the Crimea River music video is released, starring a girl that looks like Britney. After the music video is released, basically anywhere Britney goes in public, she's publicly shamed and booed. I personally can't imagine the feeling of anywhere that you go, you're just publicly shamed for existing. What an awful feeling.
I don't remember this going on.
Neither.
Like, we were in elementary school, and I remember, I don't even remember this being the first song he released. The one I remember is Rock Your Body.
Yeah.
Was like the one I remember. And I know he had released this song, but I'm like, oh, that's such a whiny song. I didn't even realize it was about Britney. I hadn't seen the music video or anything. Britney was my girl, so I wasn't even really paying attention.
Same. I think I feel the same way. Like, I know I saw the music video, but I never made any correlations that it was about Britney. I don't think I followed their relationship because, again, we were so young. Like I said, 10, 11 at this time. We're not following their relationship and things like that. So I think we saw it differently. So, yeah, Britney was separate from Justin to me, even when they were together. Like, their careers were so separate that I never correlated anything he did to reference her. So, I mean, I guess in a way that's good.
Yeah. I never like really, I knew she was dating him.
Yeah.
And there were like headlines I remember of her dating Prince William at one point. But I never was like, oh, Britney's in a relationship or Britney's single until I got in like middle school. I didn't really follow it. She was just Britney and was singing and dancing and making music.
Like, I think, like you said, like, we were more focused on her career. We weren't honing in on her personal life. Whatever she wanted to do personally, we were okay with. And this was, again, 2002, 2003. We're not an age of social media. I mean, of course, we're middle schoolers on top of it, but we are not an age of social media.
Right.
So we're not like heavily digging into people's personal lives, trying to figure out what they're doing when they're not in the spotlight. But let's also not forget that, like, Justin was basically heavily cheating on her while they were together, but also then on the other flip of the coin is slandering her name in the public media. And then just to close out, he also publicly announces Britney is a sexually active woman and that they had a sexual relationship. And I know in the book,
I hate that so much.
I think it's disgusting. And now I understand because now we have to respect Britney. And now Britney says that she's okay with it and she doesn't mind that he said it. But it's just one of those things that as a woman, as a person in general, like, you don't do that to somebody.
Yeah. Probably from her perspective, it was free.
Yes.
Because she was always asked about it in every interview. And she's like, I'm here to talk about my music. They're asking her about that. And so it probably was like, maybe they'll leave me alone now.
Totally. That's 100%.
But yeah, like you're saying, like that's her business, not his. And for me, if it happened to me, I'd feel violated.
Yeah. And we already know that Britney is already, unfortunately for her, like, already has a weird understanding of intimacy and things like that. So she thinks that he's supporting her in this. And it's so sad. He was actually doing the exact opposite. Moving on to 2003, Britney has a small, I say small, but, high profile 2-week fling with Colin Farrell, where he invites her to his premiere of The Recruit. Britney then moves to New York, where she gets her own apartment, and she starts kind of becoming somewhat of a recluse, where she's kind of hardly leaving her apartment at this point, unless she really has to. However, she does end up befriending Madonna. Madonna comes over to her apartment. And then around this time, Madonna starts becoming somewhat of a mentor to Britney. I saw they were kind of getting into somewhat of a religion together. I think it was called Kabbalah.
Kabbalah,
Kabbalah.
yeah. It's like Jewish mysticism.
Yeah, so they were getting into Kabbalah at this time and just becoming really close. And of course, in the same year, 2003, it's the infamous MTV VMA moment with Madonna and Britney. And thanks to Britney's book, I got some more insight on this. And I thought it was interesting because I really didn't have a perspective on this. So they were, during the practicing of their performance, they actually always air kissed. It wasn't ever set for them to like actually kiss. And Britney, being the performer that she is, she kind of craved the attention that she got whenever she did something really exciting from the crowd. So like she did an outfit reveal at one of the VMAs and she really craved that like wow factor moment. And so she decided to just go for it, and she actually goes in for the kiss. So this is a full Britney moment, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. So that was Britney, not Madonna, doing that.
Which I thought was interesting because we always thought it was the other way. They said like all these terrible things about Madonna. That was a Britney move, and she made a bold one.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
I would have never thought of her to do something like that. She's so quiet normally.
Yeah. And then Madonna turns and kisses Christina too. So
she learned. That is interesting. And so, but I will chalk this up to, from what Britney's, again, a lot of my things are going to come from Britney's book because she says a lot of things and kind of elaborates on stuff. She elaborates on all of this, and she basically says how Madonna basically is a very take what she needs type of woman. She, takes charge, does what she needs to, says yes and no when she needs to. And I feel like being around Madonna around this time really kind of empowered Britney in a way to like just do these impulsive things that she was always teetering on. And she just kind of was like, I'm going to do it, and just like went for things. So I love that. She releases her fourth album titled In the Zone, and it features songs such as Toxic and Me Against the Music. And then Britney suggests doing a collab with Madonna featuring her on the track Me Against the Music. And she personally asks Madonna to do the collab, which she agrees to. And then 2004, Toxic wins a Grammy for Best Dance Recording. And this is Britney's one and only Grammy to date, as it should. Best Dance Recording. That was, yeah. I love Toxic. That's another.
Well deserved.
I want to go back and watch that music video again because honestly, it's the way that she created stories with her music videos. They were so good. So I want to go back and watch this one.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one vividly. And I feel like that's probably her biggest hit to date. That's had the most longevity. Mm-hmm. Like when I hear anybody play a Britney song, most of the time it's Toxic.
It's so good. I mean, it fits into pretty much any situation.
Yes. Like party, workout class, whatever.
Right? You're being toxic. Let me just turn it on. Also in 2004 was the Diane Sawyer interview. For those who know. This was an interview where Diane Sawyer comes into her home and basically forces her to do an interview in her apartment, talking about her breakup with Justin, and basically just like prods her for a bunch of personal questions that Britney was unaware of before she even comes in. So she doesn't get any, like, all the celebrities now get like a deck of all the questions they're going to be asked. They can vet them out. They know what's going to come. That didn't happen in this interview. And then Diane basically spends the entire time berating Britney for the breakup with Justin. I've seen clips of this interview. It's actually...
We hate you too.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. It's not great. It's actually really sick and twisted to see how she just like has no lack of like any kind of respect for her as a person. Just like forget she's a person, and just like sticking her. Sick.
And even woman to woman.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, she has no respect for her as a woman, no respect for her as a person. Like, she's just going in. Like, it's like, what? Are you, like, do you think Justin's gonna date you after this? Like, I don't get it. Also this year, she spent New Year's 2004 in Las Vegas at the Palms, where she was partying with Paris Hilton. And, just being a 20-year-old at this time. However, after a long night of partying with her friends in Vegas, Britney does end up marrying her childhood friend, Jason Alexander, at 5:30 a.m. inside a little white wedding chapel. You know, as a lot of celebrities have done over the years.
I remember hearing about this. Like, I was in my friend's mom's minivan on our way to school in 7th grade. And I remember hearing about this on the radio, and I'm like, she did what?
It's so funny. I very vaguely kind of remember this. It all happened so fast. However, the fun on this ends really quickly when her family basically like runs out to Vegas the next day, extremely quote unquote concerned for her because she got married on a whim. They basically come in, make her feel so bad for what she did, and I mean, I get it is a marriage, like, that's a very serious thing. However, like, it's not something that's not fixable. You know what I mean? Like,
And so many people do
that's what I'm
this.
saying. It's not like she murdered somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, she got married. Chill out.
Yeah.
And it's not like she's like a child bride. She's 20. She's a full-grown adult. So, however, you know, I think this is when her family started to realize, like, oh, somebody's gonna get a piece of the pie if she starts, like, getting married, she has a husband, like, things they're starting to realize, like, you know what I mean, her career and their
Yeah.
that was my feeling. So, the marriage is quickly annulled after 55 hours, so, you know, that was quick-lived, nothing major there. However, next up, we have K-Fed. And Britney meets her backup dancer, Kevin Federline, in LA at a club where they become inseparable. So Britney and Kevin start spending a lot of time together at this point, and Britney doesn't really have a lot of good friends to check in and help her suss out new guys that she's dating. So she's dating this guy, Kevin, and unbeknownst to her, she finds out from, I guess, just some random person. It's unclear how she finds out, but she basically finds out he's got 2 kids. Not 1, but 2. He's got a full-grown toddler, and he's got an ex-girlfriend who's 8 months pregnant with his second kid.
So his ex-girlfriend is Shar Jackson, who I believe she's an actress. And I remember it was like People or Us Weekly, one of those tabloids. Like, she went out and talked about it, like how he was cheating on her with Britney, and then all the children and stuff. 10-1, Britney found out that way.
That's disgusting. Unfortunately, like, our girl Britney is smitten, so this is really not deferring her away from Kevin. She's in love. So at this point, Britney has to go back on tour to fulfill her contractual obligations, and she, of course, invites Kevin to come along with her. He agrees, and Britney's happy to have someone along with her instead of just being alone on tour as usual. About at this point, Britney decides to propose to Kevin herself, and he says no, but then he follows up by proposing to her, who obviously says yes.
You're toxic, I'm slipping under.
Yes, literally.
Sorry, that just reeks of toxic.
100%. No, when I was listening to her book and doing research, it's clear he is extremely toxic, and she is very oblivious to the fact. She's just so in love that she can't even see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad. It really is. So Britney and Kevin end up filming a video diaries series that ends up becoming a little mini show series called Britney and Kevin Chaotic. And they do this while she's on tour. And June 2004, Britney actually falls on stage during her video for Outrageous and hurts her knee so badly that she needs surgery, and the whole entire rest of the tour is scrapped at this point, which she was happy about anyway. She basically was begging to be off tour. She basically wished this upon, manifested herself getting hurt so she couldn't tour anymore, which is really sad. But, I mean, she got her wish. And then Britney and Kevin do end up getting married September of 2004. Not many people were happy about this, as we obviously saw and heard. And then People Magazine shot the ceremony, which I remember that. I remember seeing the People exclusive for this.
I don't
I just remember
that.
the dress because she talks about it, and I vividly remember the strapless dress that she wore. Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. Maybe because I really didn't like Kevin, so I'm like, meh.
I know. He really, I didn't like him either. He was dirty. He looked like he constantly smelled like cigarettes. I was like, he's dirty.
I know. I'm like, you're Britney Spears.
Do better. Oh, that's why I was like, come on, girl. But it sucks. So, cut to 2005, and Britney is now pregnant with her and Kevin's first son, Sean Preston. And she has a hard time with the pregnancy hormones, and they're causing her emotions to kind of flip-flop constantly. So she's not having a great time with pregnancy. She's constantly in some kind of tumultuous state. Around this time, Britney also becomes extremely protective of her sister. She who shall not be named. I wrote it down, but I'm not even going to say it. So much so that she goes onto the set of Zoe 101 to confront one of her sister's co-stars about something that ended up actually not being true. And shout out to Britney for being a real one, because she actually comes out and publicly apologizes. Specifically in her book. Shout out to her. And I know she publicly apologized, I think, previously to this as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think she did on Instagram too. And she's done it privately as well multiple times, Alexa has said. Because I watch her YouTube live streams sometimes.
Oh, do you? I watched some of her stuff. And so good on Britney for, doing what she needed to do and apologizing to right that wrong. And then Britney and Kevin welcome their first son, Sean Preston, who was born on September 14th, 2005. And 3 months later, Britney is pregnant again with their second son. And this starts to prove to becoming hard on her body, because at this point, like, she had barely any time to recover between these pregnancies. So, I can't imagine what that does to your body. You know what I mean? She's got
the
exhaustion, the everything. And on top of it, at this time, the paparazzi are becoming a frenzy. She's dodging them everywhere, anywhere she goes. She can't escape them. They're basically trailing her to get pictures of her being an unfit mother, which is just disgusting. 2006, Kevin has now started to make his own music, and his demeanor towards Britney's starting to change. So he's becoming a rap star now. K-Fed. It's disgusting. I can't. He's now partying and making music.
And it just shows that he's using
I know,
her.
right? That's what I'm saying is, like, I wish she could see this. I want to be like, girl. But because he is. But he's not doing a very good job of, if he's going to ride the coattails, he should have done a better job. But, I mean, honestly, I'm glad he didn't. Thank God he didn't. But yeah, so now he's partying all the time, making music, and he's also realizing now that he's gaining attention in the media. So he's kind of becoming a massive dick at this point. But our girl Britney, being Britney, she's loyal. She tries to support, his music career, but she feels like he's pulling away from her and the kids. So she kind of is at an impasse here. She doesn't really know what to do. And then, of course, September 12th of 2006, literally like a full year after basically having Sean Preston. They were both born like 2 days apart. Isn't that crazy? Sean Preston was born on September 14th. Yeah, her second son, Jaden James, is born on September 12th, 2006. At this point, her and Kevin, right? Like a full year. So she's been pregnant for a long time. At this point, they're getting better at hiding their kids from the paparazzi, which they shouldn't have to be, but good for them. And for the first few months, they were basically almost no pictures of Jaden James, because they couldn't get a good pic. And I'm sad that they had to do this. You shouldn't have to shield your kid. 2 months after welcoming Jaden James, Britney decides to file for divorce from Kevin, citing irreconcilable differences, and her lawyer actually advised her to file before Kevin did. Britney didn't even want to, file for divorce. She was going to try to make it work. Britney's a ride or die bitch. We know that. But she does end up filing, and at this point, the media even had the audacity to vilify Britney for filing, which again, this is just so ridiculous because the media is vilifying her for being with him, but then vilifying her for also breaking up with him because she can't win. So now 2007, Britney releases her 5th album, Blackout, and this was her only album that actually didn't hit number 1. She said it in her memoir that it was the easiest and fastest album she wrote. But this was actually due to the growing need to outrun the paparazzi. So at this point, it's a full-on frenzy. She can't go anywhere without only spending an X amount of time there before the paparazzi gets so bad in a swarm that she basically can't get out. So she had to time herself in locations so that she could leave before they got there. She also shot her Gimme More music video by going around and filming with her friend. And Britney says it was her least liked music video because of this, which I think that would be cute. It'd be fun, something I'd want to keep. It'd be like a memory of something you did with your friends back in the day. But
have you seen it?
I guess not. Is it bad?
She's like, my thing is like, she's in a bad wig and she's like on a pole and like, I in her memoir, I think she mentions it was like $3,000 to make, which is pretty cheap. I love the song though. I think if they had had a team to produce a proper video, it could have been good. But that album,
it really is
amazing.
Honestly, you're right. That is a good song too. Okay, so I can see that. So maybe not some of her best work, but probably just some of her more fun work.
Just the video.
The song itself. Yeah, the song itself is fine. She just didn't like the way the video was shot. Around this time, though, Britney also admits to suffering from severe postpartum depression. Around this time, Britney and Kevin are both actively fighting for full custody of both of their kids. And this is when Kevin actually decides to publicly state that Britney should probably not have her kids anymore, which you shouldn't be publicly stating that. It's awful. But that's not the worst of it.
Yeah. It gets worse.
Because not only are you publicly stating it, then he goes as far as to actually physically do this. So at this point now, he is physically keeping these kids from Britney for weeks on ends.
Mind you, sorry to interrupt, but mind you, he is an absentee father for all of the other children he has.
So he's not...
But he's fit for Britney's
he's not
children.
Father of the Year by any means. So I don't... He lawyered up good. Whoever he had lawyered up good. But yeah, so he even went as far as she would come to the house to try to see the kids physically because he wouldn't even bring them to her, and he would refuse her. Like, he wouldn't even let her in the house or the gates or any part of the... So after being blocked from seeing her kids and the constant hounding of the paparazzi, Britney does suffer a very public breakdown, where she does shave all of her head at a salon while in full view of photographers. And I have to say that I really do feel so awful for Britney in this moment. I know she was feeling so many things at this time. No one was there to help her. She's got all of these things. She was pushed. Her family could have helped her. Where was her family?
Well, I mean, yeah, and like, you go to school and you see a girl who just broke up with her boyfriend and she chops her hair off and dyes it red. Like, you're like, dang, she's going through it. And Britney, exactly same thing. Like, you're like, I feel for her. You can see she's 100%. Going through something.
And I think, again, just being so much younger when this was all happening, I didn't experience the full emotions of what she was going through. So as an adult now, I'm kind of like, I can internalize it a little bit and feel some of the things she was feeling, and I can empathize with the fact that, like, honestly, for as long as she held on, it's amazing that she didn't have a breakdown prior to this, because so many people were beating her when she was down.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And I don't even view it fully as a mental breakdown. I feel like a lot of it was a sense of rebellion too. Like, oh, you're gonna film me? I'll give you something to film.
100%. I feel like it wasn't necessarily a like mental breakdown, but just like a breakdown of like stress, you know, where it's like you just have to have an outburst. It's maybe
Yeah.
she's not like totally breaking down, but in that moment she just had to release something. Just like get out of my face. You know, you want something here, like you said, here it is. Like,
Yeah.
so but what's even worse is that her family wouldn't help her, but no, instead they publicly just state that they're embarrassed by her. Y'all should be embarrassed by yourselves. Disgusting. Yep. So
we could do a whole hour on that.
I only kept it brief in here, but I can't stand her family at this point. Especially after her book. If you guys haven't listened to her book or read her book, like you would understand afterwards why we're so like heated about it. Yeah, so at this point, Britney is still continuously being stalked by the paparazzi, even after her head shaving incident at the salon. She's still trying to go to Kevin's house every so often, try to see her kids. She does it again one more specific time, and she's obviously denied entry, as we know. And then the paparazzi follow her and her friend to a gas station where they're hounding Britney at the window to roll the window down, give us something, talk to us, just being you know, disgusting, vile human beings, basically. No respect for her as a person. And this is where we get the so Britney jumps out of the car, grabs what she can find in the car, which ends up happening to be a green umbrella, and then proceeds to go and hit the paparazzi car. So that's where we get these pictures that we've seen in the past of her hitting the car. It's another breaking point for her. That's the word I was looking for, breaking point. So, again, I don't blame her. However, Britney, being the classy woman that she is, afterwards calls the photo editing company and actually personally apologizes for what she did. I could never. I'm sorry. Like, I could never.
Good. I could, but they didn't.
You're right. Okay, that's where I'm at. Is like, I don't want to. I could. I'm not going to, but I definitely could.
Yeah, I don't think they deserved it. If anything, they should have apologized to Britney. Because obviously there was so much built up inside of her, she needed to release it somehow, and that's how she chose to do it. And to drive somebody to that point is just disgusting.
So, but I think with Britney, I think she knew she was the one in the public eye, that she was going to be the one talked about. So this is what happens to somebody who doesn't want to play the game. This is what happens when you don't play the game in these big, like, Hollywood areas. If you don't play it, you get eaten, chewed up, spit out, and it's so sad. After all of this, Britney is told that if she enters a rehab facility, that it's going to help her chances of getting her kid back. She decides to, kids. She has 2 children. That it'll help her chances of getting her kids back. So she decides to check herself into a facility, only to be met by her father, who basically just comes in and he's like, "What up, Britney? You suck. You're a disgrace." Cool. What a loser. Why don't you just keep on kicking your daughter when she's down? By all means, that's going to be helpful.
Right.
So, that he's a real classy guy, as we learn.
He's your typical alcoholic father.
And then she performs at the 2007 VMAs, which probably didn't pose well for her, as she was not feeling totally mentally stable and prepared for the performance. Also, Justin Timberlake was set to perform at the VMAs, so she had a run-in, or at least she saw him while she was there, and that wasn't great for her as far as her mentality, because she saw him kind of walking around doing his little swagger moves, being Justin, flirting in front of her openly, just not great at the time for her. And
this was the Future Sex Love Sounds era for him, which was his prime.
Oh yeah, so he's like hot shit, quote unquote. And then, of course, just the cherry on top, after the performance, Sarah Silverman basically roasts Britney, which, if anyone knows Sarah Silverman, I mean, she's a comedian, but she's one of those ones that kind of digs in on you when she really shouldn't. And the newspapers all made fun of her performance and body at this time. So again, everyone, we're just kicking her when she's down. It's obnoxious at this point.
I've never understood the criticism on her body. Any phase of that Britney's gone through with her body, I'll pay to have that body.
She's a dancer. Her body is banging. I don't know what they're talking about. They're like sitting at home eating handfuls of Cheetos. I know. Well, he's got kids now. Anyway. Okay. So I will say, guys, from here on out, it is a little bit somber. So I'm sorry, but we'll get through it. So we're now in 2008, and Britney has lost custody of both of her kids, and she's placed under her conservatorship with her father. And actually, the way that they did this is actually really sad. So her parents actually coaxed her to come to their beach house, saying they wanted to see her, talk to her about something. And this is basically where they just placed her under the conservatorship of everything. So an LA court decides to give Jamie Spears full custody of Britney's finances, business affairs, career, and full-on life, because they did two types of conservatorship. They did one with her finances of her business affairs, and then they did one for her personal life where she was unable to make any decisions personally. So she had two. Disgusting.
That's so disgusting.
And just to give a little taste on how twisted her family was during this time, I'll give you a little quote of what Jamie Spears decided to say to Britney right after he takes, over her life, essentially. He sits down at her desk, and I'm not going to read the whole quote, but the end of the quote is, "I'm Britney Spears now." However, being that she's apparently unfit to live her life and to do what she needs to do, all the chaos, Britney releases her 6th album, Circus, which features the song Womanizer. And also around this time, Britney's mom just decides to release her tell-all novel, where she basically uses steamrolling over Britney Spears and her career as a jumping off point for her book tour. Mom of the Year.
I've never liked anyone in our family, but I've specifically Lynn, even from when Britney's 16 years old. I feel like she was just always trying to ride her coattails. Like her 100%. Book, Britney Spears Heart to Heart. It's written by Britney and Lynn Spears.
Shocking. No, it doesn't surprise me. She seems like somebody who cowered behind her alcoholic husband until one of her kids was good enough to give her something. I said it. I don't feel bad.
And it's funny,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go off too. It's funny she couldn't be with Britney while she was in New York building her career. Yeah. Felicia did that. So, and then once Britney hit off,
you forgot about me. I'm here. Yeah, exactly. Fuck off, Lynn. I just gotta say, at least Britney didn't have to get both of her parents' first names as her name.
Oh, it's so cringy.
Bad. I can't.
Even as an 8-year-old, I was like, why?
Here's my
dumb.
dad, Jamie. Here's my mom, Lynn. Here's me. Stupid. I don't know. It always bugged me. I just thought it was so dumb.
That fact alone tells you everything you need to know about her parents.
Totally. So that's all you need to know about her parents. They suck. They're awful. So September of 2008, she wins Video of the Year, Best Female Video, and Best Pop Video, all for Piece of Me at the MTV VMAs. Also, fun fact, her sister, who is 16 at the time, decides that Christmas time of 2008 is the best time to announce to the world she is a teen pregnant woman. I don't like that. She is a teen pregnant? What? I'm trying to say. A pregnant teen.
Pregnant teen?
Why was that so hard to get a pregnant woman? Yeah, so at this time, her sister, who's 16 at the time, decides to announce to the world that she is a pregnant teen. She's 16 years old and pregnant.
That really started a movement, though, on TV, because that inspired 16 and Pregnant. Then you had like Secret Life and then
Oh my God,
Teen Mom.
Secret Life.
It was all because of her.
Rounding out with 2009, Circus starring Britney Spears tour. It's Britney's first arena tour in 5 years. The tour itself grossed $130 million, which she didn't see very much of because the conservatorship took most of it, as well as the companies that were servicing it. Again, disgusting. So, but I will say, so because she was abiding by her conservatorship, as Britney does. She's always played by the rules. She was reunited with her kids. And going forward, Britney's kids would be used for years to come as a way to keep her complacent with the conservatorship. So that was kind of their way to keep her in line, was knowing that she would do anything for her kids. So I hate that. Yeah. She also releases Britney for the Record in 2009, which was a 90-minute documentary. 2010, Britney's parents actually decided to get back together, which this was just a piece of information I wanted to throw in because it's clear that her mom basically saw her father was gaining off of Britney and she wanted a piece of the pie. She wanted to garner some of those benefits of being part of the conservatorship.
I remember, some people were saying she did it to protect
she didn't. It's
Britney.
so clear that she saw he was getting all the benefits and she was getting nothing. So she realized he's not going anywhere, neither am I, so I might as well just suck it up. And she had been with him for so many years as he was far worse. So what's a few more years for her?
Yeah.
And she didn't really do much work in 2010, at least from what I was seeing from a lot of the research. But I will say a year later in 2011, Britney did release her 7th album, which was Femme Fatale, which featured the song Hold It Against Me, which we all know very well. And that is where I will leave it. There's still plenty more of Britney, and I know I left out a ton as well, because I couldn't do it all, but that was Britney from 2000 to 2010. I hope I did her justice. I tried to respect her as much as possible.
Yeah, we did it with love. We love Britney, and, we just wanted to, be accurate and tell Britney's story rightfully so. So thank you guys for joining. We're gonna hop off and we will catch you next time.